Hey, hello, I'm the normal playing guy. Physical launch and int Oceanus, they've been out for a couple of days. Let's do the easy A, yay, 30 stones. We can use it on the step up banner, fantastic. So they're interesting. They both have their uses, but we'll touch on to launch as she's right here. So she does a little bit more, but these little bit mores do add up to become quite a big amount. So previously she had 120% to stats. Now she appears to have 150. Here she had 60% on for the first 6 turns, and now she gets 120% extra for the first 7 turns, whilst maintaining the crit chance and the key. She now gets 100% attack and a guaranteed seal when there is another Peppy Gal's ally in the same turn. The good news about that is you probably will use her on Peppy Gals, or even if Earthlings, you're going to have a Peppy Gals. Speaking of the top 25, half of them are going to be Peppy Gals, no doubt. So you're guaranteed to have a seal where applicable. And of course, when the super attack is sealed, so any additionals that you do have then, because again, this is just on the attacking turn, so no super attack required. All these have a 30% chance to crit. So high chance of becoming a super attack with these two additional normals. She now greatly raises defense for the turn while still having this. So this is a 30% debuff for several turns, and you still get a 50% raise. So with the increase of the easy A stats coming in, so prior to this, right, she had let's have a look, base coming in at 55%. Oof, 6,500. Pretty poor, and at Rainbow came in at 9,000. At least she had stats. Now these days coming in at 55% from the Easy A, more respectable 8,000 coming in with 11,000. Now on my last video we touched on the STR18 and the ADL Mamba, so they were sitting around this at Rainbow as well. So we know then at 100% to 100%, yes, she also has a hell of a lot more attack compared to either 18 or Mamba. So that is something coming in at Rainbow. And of course, decent amount of attack to boot as well at 55%. So coming in at that, yes, she is 3 years old. So there's a fair chance that people have got her. She's in all the loot pools, right? So again, you've been playing since then, there's a fairly decent chance you've got this unit. So of course, this will only apply at SA14 or higher. So if you've got this unit and you've never put any resources into it because it's Peppy Gals, now is your chance. This is good for multiple reasons. We got like the guaranteed seal, the extra stats, the fact that she still lowers attack and defense. Is the fact that the Extreme Super Battle Road stage for Earthlings has just come out. I thought it already had, but no. It turns out then that it's very difficult because of the caliber of people, and you're rocking basically, if it's not physical Krillin, it's like physical Roshi. They're both LRs. But of course, it's we don't really have a full, proper, strong 170% lead or hell anymore. So the team is a bit wonky. Some of them are DB Saga, some of them are not related. So some of them are like uh, it's hard. Well, so let's have a look at them. A World Tournament. Some of them are DB Saga. Some of them are World Tournament. So it's a bit of a funny one here. And then of course you might even have some stuff from like GT slapped in there for some reason. So again, yes. If you're gonna, so like Earthlings is a little difficult, but yeah, it can now be. She's going to be a huge asset to that team. So in terms of links, Battlefield Diva, Flea, Metamorphosis, Berserker, Shattering the Limit, and then the DB Saga links. So tons and tons of key. Honestly, that's like 12 keys. She's going to auto super. DB Saga, Earthlings, Peppy Gals, Transformation Boost, Earthbred Fighters. Now you're not going to rock them on two of these teams realistically. Yeah, she has a legitimate shout on DB Saga now. Earthlings and Peppy Gals, of course. So she's a fairly decent lead for Peppy Gals. I swear there might. Is there not actually a better? Okay, so we do actually have a lead. Yeah. Okay, so it's not for Earthlings, but Peppy Gals does indeed have one. So there is that there, but Earthlings does indeed struggle. So you can make a legitimate team with her on between these two. That's not a problem. So works well with like, I was going to say Oceanus Shenron, but obviously not, despite the fact that there's all key links. So you got like this Bulma, who's super physical, and then you got this Chi-Chi, who is super physical as well. We've just clicked on you. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, okay. So then you got, so there's tons and tons of physical units, as you're going to say. So you got this Bulma, this Chi-Chi, this LR, this Kid Goku's after his EZA, this with Brienne. I mean, there's a lot of physical ones in here. Let's see. So Mamba is pretty decent. We checked on her in the last video. She's surprisingly as good. Is it because of, metamorphosis? Is the reason why she's on this list. And coming in with other attack links as well. It's the reason why. So metamorphosis helps. That Mamba was surprisingly was a weird, surprising unit, right? So LR Bulma, we all know what LR Bulma can do. Between the DB Saga links, she could carry pretty much any team. So overall, pretty good. The slight increase here, the slight increase to start of turn stats, the slight increase to the first 7 turns. She gains the ability to have a small amount of crits, but it's over multiple attacks. It ends up being quite a rather impactful feature. And then, of course, so that makes her quite useful. So now we're going to quickly jump into Oceanus Shenron, who is, well, if you watched me do the Super Battle Road stages for beginners, and you watch me do the Shadow Dragon Saga, she was by far and away the MVP. Now, I used her as the lead, and so it wasn't even like a full 170% from Omega. But no, her. And she is phenomenal. The stuff that she did, even in base, right? She still raised the defense. She guarantees sealed. If the person is, if you are sealed, then you're guaranteed stunned. It's pretty absolutely ridiculous. If you have an additional attack, a super attack, then you will guarantee sealed, then guarantee stun, whilst being super effective against all types. It's pretty nutty, right? This is it. You're getting a guaranteed super additional attack with the target enemy's attack down or defense down, something which the Shadow Dragons do by default, which means you get this. She really was broken. She would just control the battlefield in that particular instance really well. So let's see what she does now. So she, again, slightly scammed, so she should have 150% off here. It's like this one. She went from 120 to 130. I feel like that's a bit of a scam, but sure. So key 350% stats. Okay, so we did that slight increase, coming in at 55%. Now a respectable 9,000. What was she prior? She wasn't particularly great. No, 7,000. That explains it. Okay. So coming in with Easy A, they entered the game with around 9,000. One Duke puts you at nearly 11. Rainbow puts you at 12. So again, it puts you one with that's actually not too bad. Hell, coming in with 12,000, that's along similar lines to what Physical Turles has at 55%. So you're not terribly far off that. In fact, you might actually be slightly more. So that's pretty good. So slightly increased stats, which is great. Her super attack effect, she now greatly raises defense and also stacks attack. Interesting. Not too sure why she stacks attack. She's not that kind of unit, but sure, the greatly raised defense from the regular is nice and still has the seal. So you get 100% to stats and a guaranteed additional super attack when the target is attack down or defense down. So that's gone up by a little bit, and this has gone up by a little bit. You're super effective against all types with a 70% chance of stunning the enemy and a 50% chance of launching an additional super attack when the target enemy is sealed. Okay, so again, it's just slightly more, right? What did she do prior? So you have a super effective against all types, 50% chance to stun. You now have a 70% chance to stun, and high chance of launching additional super attack if you're still sealed. So she has an additional super attack here, of which is stacking attack and greatly raising defense, whilst making sure that the person is nerfed into the ground at any unbelievable rate. Okay, so she seems like so when the Shadow Dragon Super Battle Road stage, it's still kind of easy because they all passively lower. She will just hold her own even more. You do have to use items. Well, it depends. She could look after herself and not get hit in some respects, but you may have to use an item here or there, depending on if you have to throw him in slot one, depending on whether or not you're aiming to just stun lock somebody, for example, right? Okay, so she seems brilliant. I mean, they both are right. They both seem pretty decent easy A's. It's the little things that all add up to become a big impact. I think they are both useful. Let's. How old is this unit? So we are now at 2020. So again, 3 years. So 3 years old. So you've been playing since then. You probably have this unit. Higher chance to be featured because we've had some the seventh anniversary units. One of them was GT themed, so she'd had a high chance of probably being on one of them. Right. So who does she stack up well with? Well, in terms of like GT Shadow Dragons. Cold Judgment, you'd expect it going to be something along the lines of them, but no. Check it out. The Shadow Dragons are nowhere to be seen except for Nova. Nova coming in with Shadow Dragons Cold Judgment GT and Shattering the Limit. Yeah, so the Shadow Dragons just don't have anything to play with on this. I guess that's because they probably have Fear and Faith and Nightmare and Big Bad Bosses. But nonetheless, the new Mamba, she's pretty ridiculous. There's a few decent ones in here. Baby, if Baby ever gets his easy A, which he will do because he's becoming a bit irrelevant, Metamorphosis GT Shattering the Lyric could be pretty good. Giving stats and giving stats and giving stats on GT bosses is pretty good. Shadow Dragon Saga, Peppy Gal GT bosses. Wow, what a yeah, I mean, the Peppy Gals is such a good compliment to GT bosses, right? So yeah, brilliant. Yeah, okay. So the Mize are pretty good. We just touched on launch. And I mean, there are usable units in this, but despite the fact that she's on Peppy Gals, you'll find that she has a higher impact still on the Shadow Dragon Saga. You think like she has guaranteed seals. Let's see who has what. She greatly lowers attack. Let's see. She has dodge. She has stun chances. The Int Mai has stun chances. People like I can't remember. I think it's her. She seals. I mean, the point is, there's plenty of Peppy Gals which do a lot. So again, you'll find that what she can do is not really much that there isn't really much that she can't do in comparison. She's not like a standout figure, but on Shadow Dragon Saga she is. Interesting. GT bosses, yeah, okay. So what's not really going to be shown is the fact that you're going to be triggering like Cold Judgment. You're going to be triggering like Shadow Dragon Saga and GT. All of this gives key attack and defense, and GT bosses needs it. Yes, there is a new LR coming out here, which is a 200% lead in the future, which would really help this team out. But yeah, this team, she sits in here and she supports way more. And if GT bosses ever get a Super Battle Road stage, which it will, I'd imagine at some point, she will be quintessentially the number one unit in that one, and especially when it comes to the Extreme Super Battle Road stage way further down the line. She just will be that relevant. So she has more future use and she is good in a very specific situation. Whereas she is good on more categories, especially more of a broader category in terms of Earthbred, Earthlings, DB Saga, like that kind of deal. But of course, as well, she just seems to fit in better towards both Peppy Gals and their respective teams. Whereas, as I say, it's realistically just GT bosses and Shadow Dragons, right? But yeah, anyway, that's the easy A for these. As we are in the ninth era or the eighth year, whichever way you look at it, they're pretty good. Neither of these are fantastic standalone units, but it's nice to see that they've kept this up. It looks like we are in a Peppy Gals themed Halloween, so that's something. By the way, the Easy A for the Heroine edition numero 3. What are they weak to? Peppy Gals. It doesn't matter which, it's just Peppy Gals. Considering you start off with the first 15 stages with physical, and then from then onwards it's going to be this gal, you probably want to start maybe with physical. Maybe stop at some point, get launch halfway done, but at some point you probably want to go to physical. If we're talking Peppy Gals in particular for the Easy A's, well, let's check it out. So if you have the new Kale, you could legitimately run the 200% for Universe 6, right? So that is something. So anyone on there could be really great. Otherwise, yeah, you could run any of these. 130% should be sufficient. If you have Vidal, probably great. Vidal doesn't link with anybody, but she can look after herself and is a full 170. Ribrianne is a older unit, has a very nice easy A, and is probably a much more respectable 150%, because again, that the tournament of power link will link in quite a bit better, and you can build a better team outside of, say, it even works with someone like Kale. So yeah, so we need Peppy Gals. Any of these would be sufficient. Hell, if you have Bulma, you probably could just crush her. I mean, she does like 3 super attacks that greatly raise attack. I mean, I'm sure she could absolutely crush. But again, you're talking like physical, and we're talking in particular for Universe 6. What I'm thinking of is Kefla, right? If you're trying to think of Universe 6 and Tournament of Power, I'm thinking Ribrianne, and I'm thinking, who else is it? Oh no, that was probably it. I might have been thinking along the lines of these, but Tournament of Power has some good ones in there as well. Okay, right. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. We can all grind away for the Heroine Edition 3. We have Int, Oceanus, and of course Physical Launch, Peppy Gals, all the way. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, and bye bye.